Hi, and welcome to Mortgage and Financial Solutions. I'm your host, Mark Rigney. On today's program, we're going to discuss the current landscape of the real estate market in the DC metropolitan area. If you are considering buying and selling in this real estate market, then you'll want to pay close attention to today's show. In our studio today is Megan Bailey and Tim Horinko. Megan and Tim are both top producers in their field and are well versed in our market. Our experts today will educate you and give you tips and suggestions on how to get involved and what to look for when buying and selling real estate. Hi, Megan and Tim. Thanks for being here. We're excited to have you.
Hi, thank you for having us.
Tim, what is our current market? How is our current market as it stands today?
Our market is moving very well. There's a lot of homes on the market, but there's also a lot of buyers in the marketplace because of interest rates being at all-time lows. And so when you've got those two things together, you've got a lot of sales and a lot of activity. Obviously, buyers also can get a good deal when they're looking at short sales and foreclosures. So that's a big plus as well.
Mm-hmm. A few years ago, Megan, it was more of a seller's market. Are you saying it's a buyer's market now, you think?
No, this year we've seen mostly a seller's market because it's driven by supply and demand. And our inventory has been actually pretty low all year, and it's been consistently going down for the last 4 months. So there's more buyers coming out. They have more confidence now that prices have gone up overall here. So it's more of a seller's market. Sellers have more power. They don't expect to have to pay for closing costs. You're seeing multiple bids on certain properties. I had a house that went off the market in 7 hours at full price.
Really?
We're ratified in 7 hours. I wasn't even done putting all the pictures up yet.
Multiple offers or just one offer?
Well, multiple showings, but in 7 hours they hustled, they got it in because they knew what kind of market we were in.
Wow.
So buyers said full price, no selling costs, no home warranty even, let's just go, get this done, close in 30 days. So my client was very happy.
How is our market today in the DC metropolitan area compared to other markets across the country?
Other markets across the country, some are still struggling. Our statistics are much better compared to the national statistics.
Would you say we're a little more insulated because of the federal government?
Yes. Right, yeah. We have more jobs, so more jobs draw more people. People need homes, places to live, so DC is a strong, strong market.
Tim, what are some of the benefits? Why don't you share with our viewers, what are some of the benefits today of home ownership?
The benefits of home ownership are the fact that you can write off your mortgage interest on your taxes. That's probably one of the larger things. Appreciation over time. You buy a house today, over the long haul, you're going to make money at the end of the day. And I think another thing that people find important is stability. If you're renting a property, you're not in charge of when you move in all circumstances. So the fact that you're going to be in a permanent place for as long as you'd like.
So would you say the values of the homes in our area are going up as opposed to other parts of the country, the values of their homes are going down? Would you say that?
I think that we're in a market where we're now starting to tick up a little bit. It's taken obviously a little bit of time to get back to this pace where we're starting to inch back up, but I think that we're much better off than the rest of the country.
You think it's still a good investment, Megan, to buy in this market?
Absolutely. I mean, if you're looking at a long-term investment, if you're going to be here 5 to 10 years, you should absolutely purchase a house. And also investing, if you're going to buy a house and live there, say, for 3 years, but then move out and want to buy a bigger house, you can rent that property out, and that's a good way to wealth build. So build wealth, rather.
So the values are still going up. It's still a great time to buy.
Right. It's just a normalized market now. We're going up at a normal appreciation. What happened in '04, that wasn't normal. That was not normal.
So you would recommend buying how about investment properties? Tim, what do you think about that?
Investment properties are a great vehicle to make money long term. I'm an investor. I have been for many years, and it's nice to buy something and over time have it appreciate. So yeah, I think with interest rates being as low as they are, and the fact that the market has been down, you put those together, I think it makes an excellent landscape to buy.
What about flipping? You think there are a lot of people out there to buy to make some quick cash and turn around and buy another house?
Flipping is something that people are still doing, but the margins are not what they used to be. So
compared to a couple of years ago.
Compared to a couple of years ago. So what I see out there now is people that are doing it are having to do more homes for less per transaction, which it's okay because they're doing lots of homes per year.
Now, you mentioned some homes are selling fast and getting multiple offers. What makes them so appealing to these potential buyers?
Location, condition, and price. So if it's priced right, it shows well, people just jump on these homes because a lot of homes are not priced right or they don't show well. So when something comes on that hits all three criteria, location, condition, and price, people see the value in it and they just jump on it, and that's when you get.
Shouldn't a real estate agent be taking control of that and correcting their sellers if it's overpriced?
Well, that's a good point that you brought up. A real estate agent should tell the sellers what they need to be doing, but sometimes the sellers just don't realize that, and they have to learn as they're sitting on the market and not getting a contract sometimes.
So they ignore the recommendations of their agents.
Yes.
So you guys try to steer them, say, look, it might be a little overpriced, you may have to sit on this, but if they're insistent, you have to do what they ask. Is that correct?
The seller is in control. I mean, our job is to tell them what our recommendations are.
Educate them.
And more times than not, we tell them what the truth is, and sometimes they just have to learn, and it takes a little bit of time to see how the market plays out. A lot of sellers want to test the market.
Right, and a lot of sellers are emotional, and they think that their property is worth X amount of dollars, and I tell them if I could sell your house for $1 million, I would, but that's not reality. It's the marketplace that dictates the price, not you, nor I, nor anybody. It's the marketplace and what the recent solds are.
We hear a lot in the news lately about short sales. Give us the lowdown on short sales. Do you guys like doing these short sales, and what are their functions?
Well, I'm glad you brought up short sales because they're a huge part of our market. Now let me explain first what a short sale is.
Please.
A short sale is when somebody has a property that is not worth as much as what's owed on the property. So
they're underwater.
They're underwater. And so what happens in that situation is maybe the seller can't afford to sell the property, doesn't have the cash to come to closing. And when you have that situation, or maybe a seller's lost a job, or just economic hardship for whatever reason.
Do you recommend these short sales to your buyers?
Well, first and foremost, no. I mean, if there's a really good deal and someone has fallen in love with a short sale, you have to just educate them that it's not the normal process. They don't really have as many rights or any as they would with a regular sale.
The buyers or the sellers?
The buyers,
Okay,
because you're waiting. It's three parties involved, right? You have the bank, you've got the seller, and you've got the buyer. So they could be waiting around. So they have to have a lot of time on their side and patience. Otherwise, they're not going to be closing in 30 days.
So these short sales normally are longer transactions?
Absolutely.
And do you recommend these to your buyers, or do you just prepare them, say, hey, look, and what about the condition of these short sales? Are they as good as someone who just puts their house on the market?
Normally the short sales are in pretty good shape for the most part. Again, it depends on the particular buyer. If they're looking to get a nice house and get a really good deal, that's one avenue to go. Again, timing's everything. If you're a buyer and you want to get in that house within the next 60 to 90 days, I wouldn't recommend a short sale for you.
But you would recommend under some circumstances, hey, these short sales, it's lower value, it's going to cost you less. You may have to put some elbow grease into it, but you would recommend these short sales?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
Right.
okay. We have a lot of foreclosures in our market. What can you tell your buyers about these what can you share with our viewers about these foreclosures?
Foreclosures aren't like, they used to be years ago. Foreclosures nowadays can be really nice properties in really good condition. You just had a seller that, again, had an economic hardship. The banks actually can be very good to deal with as far as, returning an response time on a contract. Normally they're typically going to respond within 24 to 48 hours.
Would you recommend a short sale over a foreclosure? And what's the difference between the two of them when it comes to you guys and the functions that you perform?
The foreclosure is probably going to be the easiest route to go with a lot less snags along the way.
Why?
Well, the lenders, they want to get those homes sold. A lot of times they've put money into the properties to bring them up to par to help them sell.
So the lenders will actually go in if the vacating homeowner took out the appliances, removed light fixtures, the lenders will actually go in and fix that property up and get it to showable condition?
Correct.
Sometimes, not all the time still.
But for the most part, the banks are easy to work with. A lot of times they're going to be willing to pay closing costs, and they want a quick closing, and so they're typically very easy to work with.
Well, in foreclosures, you just have 2 parties. You don't have 3. Short sales are 3 parties. So you're putting more hands in the cookie jar. So you have to get more signatures and more people to agree on all the terms of the contract, whereas foreclosures, it's just the bank and the buyer.
Where would one go to buy a foreclosure? I guess they would contact an agent such as yourselves, and what would your function be from that point to help your buyer gain a foreclosure?
Well, as with any buyer, basically you would sit down, find out what the buyer's looking for, their price range, and obviously the first thing would be they would talk to a lender to find out what they qualify for and what they want their mortgage payment to be, what's comfortable for them per month. Based on that, we show them what's in our database, which has everything from foreclosures, short sales to regular sales, and find out what's going to best suit their needs.
Do you guys have to go to the courthouse steps to buy a foreclosure, or how is that handled?
It's funny that you bring that up. Actually, you can do that, but it's not really heard of these days, because foreclosing is like an action. It means like you go there and the bank is there and they're bidding, and people just hold up their paddles as if it's like an auction. It's an auction. And then REO sales are after the foreclosure has happened.
REO, please explain that for our viewers.
It's real estate owned is what it stands for, and that's after the foreclosure has happened, meaning the bank has taken back possession of the house. So REO is that, and then the bank takes that property, puts it on the MLS, lists it, and that's an REO. So foreclosure is an action, it's the auction.
You would recommend for foreclosure utilizing a real estate agent too, because it doesn't cost the buyer anything, correct?
Absolutely. Buyer agency is something that there is a contract between a buyer and the real estate brokerage, but the cost that's incurred there is picked up by the fact that the seller is paying a commission on all of the property. So as long as the commission that's being paid covers the cost of the whatever the agent is charging.
So there's really no reason why a buyer would not utilize the services of an agent.
Right.
Absolutely. What an agent can do for a buyer.
In a foreclosure, what can an agent do for a buyer in a foreclosure?
The biggest thing is run the comps to the neighborhood and make sure that they're getting a good deal on the property.
Right, well, making sure you can still do lead-based paint, radon, making sure they're not getting into a home. Some homes still have a lot of
They
mold.
still have that.
Mold, black mold, so, and that's, hazardous to your house. So an inspection, you want to do, and to have a market expert such as a realtor help, facilitate the process to make sure that you're making a good investment and you're not going to be walking into a lemon where the roof's going to crash in, or you have to excavate all of this mold.
Right.
You're definitely at risk if you don't hire a professional realtor.
Let's switch gears here a little bit. Let's talk about the selling side of it. How does a seller, for our viewers who want to sell their home, how does a seller price a home to sell?
That's a great question, Mark. In today's times, the market is changing constantly. The things that a realtor can help a seller with is pricing the property correctly to cause it to sell at the highest price. Also giving helpful hints what sellers can do to their property to get them on the market and sell quickly for top dollar.
You mentioned overpriced. How can homeowners who currently have their home on the market today tell if their home is currently overpriced?
What's
the watermark for that?
That's probably the best question I've heard all day. Normally, a seller in this market, you should get an offer within